The rain hammered down like it was trying to drown out the truth, but Anthony's words cut through it sharper than any storm. Malik, I can't pretend anymore. It's you, it's always been you. His voice cracked, eyes locked on mine in the dim alley light, and in that split second, our 20 years of brotherhood shattered like the beer bottle he'd just dropped at our feet. I shoved him back, my heart slamming against my ribs like a caged animal. What the hell, Ant? You're straight. You've got Sarah. The ring on her finger. This is some fucked up joke, right? But his face, twisted in that raw, unfiltered pain I knew from every scraped knee and lost game we'd shared since we were kids in the projects, told me it wasn't. We'd grown up blocks apart in Bed-Stuy, Brooklyn, two black boys dodging the same bullets, literal and otherwise. Me, Malik Hayes, the quiet one with dreams too big for our zip code, sketching graffiti art on notebook margins while dreaming of galleries in Manhattan. Him, Anthony Ant Rivera, the golden boy with the killer jump shot and a laugh that could light up the bleakest block party. Our moms were best friends, thick as thieves over church potlucks and late-night gossip, so we were basically brothers from the jump. Sleepovers turned into all-nighters talking shit about girls we'd never kiss, sneaking out to tag abandoned lots under the moon, and vowing to get out of Brooklyn together. Him on a basketball scholarship, me with a paintbrush in hand. High school was our proving ground. Ant led the team to state semis his senior year, scouts buzzing like flies, while I hustled murals for local shops, turning concrete walls into stories of resilience. We were inseparable. Friday nights at the bodega, splitting blunts and plotting escapes to the big leagues. Girls came and went. Flings that fizzled fast for me, since I knew deep down I wasn't wired that way, and steady girlfriends for him, starting with that cheerleader who broke his heart junior year. I'd been there for every tear, every rage-fueled pickup game where he'd dunk on some fool twice his size. And when I finally came out to him at 17, drunk on cheap rum after a house party, he just clapped my shoulder and said, "Malik, you're my boy. Always. No questions, no judgment." That's what made him my rock. College split us, him to Rutgers on that full ride, me scraping by at Pratt Institute on grants and grit, commuting back to Brooklyn every weekend to crash on his couch when he'd visit home. We texted nonstop. His tales of frat parties and hookups, my rants about pretentious art profs and the grind of being the only out queer kid in my dorm. "Stay true, bro," he'd say, and I'd laugh it off, but it stuck. After graduation, life pulled us back together in the city that never sleeps but always dreams. Ant washed out of the NBA minors after a knee injury, cruel twist that, and landed a gig coaching AAU ball in Queens. I clawed my way into freelance graphic design, picking up commissions for album covers and streetwear brands, barely making rent in my Bushwick walk-up. That's when Sarah entered the picture. She was everything polished Brooklyn aspired to be. A marketing whiz from Columbia, light-skinned with a smile that could sell ice to Eskimos, and a family condo in Harlem that screamed old money. They met at a rooftop mixer in Williamsburg, me dragging Ant out to network, though we both knew it was code for free booze and bad decisions. She reeled him in slow with brunches and Broadway tickets, and by our 25th birthday bash at that dive bar in the East Village, he was popping the question over shots of Henny. I was his best man, toasting them under string lights while ignoring the ache in my chest. Not jealousy exactly, just the quiet grief of watching your person build a life that didn't include you the way it used to. The wedding was a blur of soul food and second-line parades. Aunties in church hats gossiping about that nice girl finally taming our aunt. I caught the bouquet, fate's cruel punchline, and spent the reception sketching caricatures of drunk uncles to keep my hands busy. Sarah was good for him, grounded him in ways I never could. She pushed him toward night classes for his coaching cert, planned vacations to the Keys where he'd send me pics of sunsets with captions like, "Wish you were here. Bro, Sarah's cool, but she can't hoop." We'd laugh about it later, but those texts started feeling heavier, like unsaid words piling up. Then came the cracks. 6 months in, Ant started calling late, 2 a.m. vents about the pressure, the way marriage felt like trading freedom for a picket fence he wasn't sure he wanted. "Man, I love her, but it's like, I'm suffocating," he'd slur, and I'd talk him down, blaming the stress of his new assistant coach gig at a high school in the Bronx. Sarah worked long hours, jetting to conferences, leaving him alone with his doubts. I'd show up with pizza and a six-pack, we'd binge old Knicks games, and for a night it was us against the world again. But those nights lingered longer, silences stretching like rubber bands about to snap. It was one of those evenings that lit the fuse. We just wrapped a brutal pickup game at the Westforth courts. Me holding my own for once, thanks to his relentless drills, and collapsed onto a bench, sweat-soaked and breathless, the city skyline mocking us with its indifferent gleam. "Remember when we thought we'd own this town?" I said, wiping my face with my shirt. He nodded, staring at the horizon, then turned to me with eyes I'd never seen before. Haunted, hungry. "Malik, what if I told you I've been lying? About everything?" My laugh died in my throat. "Lying how? About the knee? The coaching bullshit?" He shook his head, jaw tight. "About me. About who I am." The words hung there, heavier than the humidity clinging to our skin. I waited, pulse thundering, as he spilled it. The confusion since high school, the girls as cover, the way my coming out had cracked open something in him he couldn't name. "Every time I see you with some guy, laughing, free, kills me, because I want that. With you." The world tilted. I bolted, mumbling excuses about a deadline, but he followed me all the way to the subway, pleading, "Don't run, Malik. Please." I didn't speak to him for a week. Radio silence that echoed louder than any fight we'd had. Sarah noticed, cornered me at their anniversary dinner I'd faked enthusiasm for. "What's going on with you two?" "He's a ghost." I shrugged it off, but guilt gnawed at me like termites in drywall. When he showed up at my door that Friday, soaked from the downpour, I let him in because that's what brothers do. We sat on my sagging couch, steam rising from our clothes, and he laid it all bare. The therapy sessions he'd started in secret, the journal entries he'd burned in shame, the way Sarah's touch felt like obligation now. I thought I could bury it, man. For her, for the life we're supposed to have. But it's you. It's been you since we were kids stealing candy from Mr. Patel's. Tears stung my eyes, a mix of fury and longing I'd suppressed for years. "And you can't just drop this bomb and expect." "What? Me to fix you? You're married. This destroys everything." He reached for my hand, and I let him, the warmth of his palm a spark to dry tinder. We talked till dawn. Raw, unfiltered confessions that peeled back layers I'd never imagined. By sunrise, as the city woke with its cacophony of horns and shouts, something shifted. Not love, not yet, just possibility fragile as a first sketch. But reality has teeth. Sarah found out piecemeal. A misplaced text from me. "We need to talk. Coffee?" His distracted silences, the way he'd flinch at her casual affections. She confronted him over pasta in their sunlit kitchen. Voice steady but eyes shattering. "Is it Malik?" "God. Anthony. I've known since the wedding. The way you look at him." He denied at first, then crumbled, sobbing apologies that tasted like ash. She didn't scream, didn't throw plates, just packed a bag and left for her sisters in Jersey, whispering, "Fix yourself, then maybe we talk." Word spread like wildfire in our tight-knit circle. Cousins texting me side eyes, our moms exchanging worried calls over bingo night. "What you boys gotten into?" Mama Hayes demanded, her voice thick with that southern lilt she'd carried from Georgia. I stonewalled, but the betrayal stung deepest from Aunt. He'd chosen silence over us for so long, and now his unraveling dragged me under too. I threw myself into work, landing a gig designing murals for a queer youth center in Harlem. Ironic therapy, painting rainbows on walls scarred by the same struggles I'd navigated. Aunt spiraled. He quit coaching mid-season, holing up in their empty apartment, drowning doubts in bourbon and bad decisions. I'd get voicemails at odd hours. "Malik, I fucked up. Come over." I'd go, because addiction to him ran deeper than reason, and we'd sit on the fire escape, chain-smoking, watching fireflies duel with distant sirens. One night, vulnerability cracked wide open. "I love you," he said, not as a friend, but as a man staking claim. The kiss that followed was inevitable, tentative, tasting of salt and regret, under a sky bruised purple by twilight. It was electric, that spark, but laced with poison. We pulled back, breathless, and I whispered, "This can't be our story, Aunt. Not like this." He nodded, but the seed was planted, roots twisting through the wreckage of his marriage. Sarah filed papers quietly, citing irreconcilable differences. But the tabloids in our community, gossip rags disguised as church bulletins, whispered louder, "Coach's queer scandal." His family turned cold. His pops, a stoic veteran from the old neighborhood, cut him off with a single call. "You shaming us like this? Fix it or forget it." The betrayal hit like a sucker punch when I least expected. We'd carved out stolen moments, coffee runs in nondescript diners, walks along the High Line where tourists buffered our secrets. I started believing in us, in the slow rebuild of something truer than friendship. But one gray November afternoon, as leaves skittered like warnings across Prospect Park, my phone buzzed with a screenshot from a mutual. Ant at a bar in Midtown, arm around some twink half his age, lips too close, caption screaming "Rebound King." My world imploded. I stormed his place, key still under the mat from our shared history, and found him nursing a hangover on the couch. "What the fuck, Anthony? After everything? After you said it was me?" He looked up, bleary-eyed, guilt carving canyons in his face. "It was a mistake, Malik. One night, I was lost trying to prove, I don't know, that I'm still straight, that I can choose normal." "Normal?" I roared, voice echoing off bare walls stripped of her photos. "You think betraying me us is normal?" I waited, Ant. "Through your denial, your wedding vows, your collapse. And this is how you repay it? By chasing shadows to erase what we could be." He lunged up, grabbing my arms, desperation in his grip. I panicked. The stairs at the gym, my agent's calls drying up. "Image matters, kid. I thought if I could just perform, it'd shut it all out. But it didn't. Nothing does without you." Tears tracked down his cheeks, mirroring mine, and in that fractured moment, I saw the boy I'd bandaged after his first fight, the man who'd held me through my own coming-out terror. We collapsed together, sobs racking us like aftershocks. And from the ruins, forgiveness clawed its way up. Not easy, therapy became our lifeline, separate sessions bleeding into joint ones at a center in Chelsea, where a no-nonsense counselor named Javier unpacked our codependence like tangled Christmas lights. "You two built a world on each other before the world built you," he'd say, pushing us toward independence. Months blurred into a tentative thaw. Ant got sober, picked up freelance personal training, channeling his fire into kids from the projects. Much like us once. I finished the youth center murals, a triptych of black and brown queer icons rising from chain-link shadows, unveiled at a block party where he stood in the crowd, clapping loudest. Sarah surfaced once, over neutral ground lattes. "I hope he finds peace. We both deserve that." No venom, just quiet grace that humbled me. Our first real date was unassuming. A Knicks game at the Garden, courtside seats he'd hustled from a client. No labels, no rush, just us yelling at refs and sharing a bucket of popcorn. His knee brushing mine without apology. Afterward, walking through Times Square's neon frenzy, he stopped under the billboards, took my hand. "I'm all in, Malik. No more hiding. You." The kiss then was different. Bold, unapologetic, with the city's pulse as witness. Horns blared approval, strangers blurred into anonymity, and for the first time, I breathed easy. But drama doesn't fade quietly in America. It simmers, then erupts. Ant's past caught up during a routine team meeting at his old high school gig. He'd clawed back the assistant coach role on probation. A parent, some blue-collar dad with a chip on his shoulder and a son on the roster, overheard whispers and cornered him in the locker room. "Heard you're one of them now. Teaching my boy that shit." It escalated fast. Fists flew, Ant's nose cracking against a bench before security pulled the guy off. Bruised and bleeding, he drove straight to me, collapsing on my stoop like a soldier home from war. I cleaned him up in my tiny bathroom, antiseptic stinging as much as the story he spilled. He said I was poison, Malik, that I'd corrupt the kids. Rage boiled in me, but I swallowed it, cupping his face. "You're not poison. You're fire, the kind that warms, not burns." That night, we made love for the first time. Not as a desperate grasp but a deliberate choice, bodies mapping forgiveness in the soft glow of street lamps filtering through blinds. The fallout was swift. The school suspended him pending investigation. Local news sniffing around with headlines like, "Bronx coach in gay brawl scandal." Protests erupted, Queer activists chaining themselves to the gates. Allies from the youth center flooding socials with justice for Ant. Our moms united, storming the principal's office with petitions and pleas, their friendship a bulwark against the storm. In the eye of it, betrayal reared again, not from Ant, but from within. His agent, that slick operator who'd ghosted post coming out, resurfaced with a deal. Go back in the closet for a cushy D-League spot. Play the part, kid. America's not ready for your truth. Ant laughed it off, but doubt flickered. Late one night, as we lay tangled in sheets, he confessed the temptation. What if I drag you down with me? What if I can't hack this? I propped up on an elbow, tracing the scar on his jaw from that long-ago fight. Then we fall together. But we won't, because this us is worth more than any spotlight. He pulled me close, and in his exhale, I felt the last walls crumble. The climax crashed on a sweltering July 4th, fireworks popping like gunfire over the East River. We'd planned a low-key barbecue at my place, close friends only, a queer-inclusive spread of ribs and rainbow jello salads. But the dad from the brawl showed, drunk and belligerent, crashing the gate with a tirade straight from Fox News fever dreams. You freaks ruining our boys! Chaos erupted, bottles shattering, shouts drowning out the distant booms. Ant stepped forward, not with fists but words. Sir, your anger's valid if it's fear, but love ain't the enemy. It's the only thing that saves us. The man deflated, mumbling retreats, and as cops' sirens wailed closer, the party reformed around us, a circle of solidarity. Sarah even texted, heard about the drama, you two okay? Rooting for you. In that messy, American moment, sweat and smoke and unfiltered hearts, I saw our stories arc, from hidden boys to men claiming light. We won the appeal. The school reinstated him with diversity training mandates, a small victory in the long war. Ant proposed 6 months later, not with a ring but a custom sketch I'd done of us as kids on that first tagged wall. Faded but fierce. Marry me, Malik. Let's build the life we dreamed. The wedding was ours. A rooftop affair in Bushwick, murals as backdrops. Our moms toasting with spiked sweet tea. No drama, just depth, vows that wove our betrayals into tapestries of trust. As we danced under string lights to some old R&B jam, Brooklyn's skyline glittering like promise, I knew the confession hadn't ended us. It remade us, deeper, unbreakable. Years on, with a brownstone in Crown Heights and foster kids of our own, 2 black boys navigating their truths, we look back on that rainy alley as our genesis. America's still a battlefield, prejudices lurking like landmines, but in our corner, love's the revolution. And damn if it doesn't feel like home.